Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
All right. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman live on your radio. Hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use. No doubt starts now. This, my fellow Americans, is the broadcast for July the 9th in the year of our Lord 2025. This is hour one of two. The goal always to protect life, liberty, and property, to promote God, family, and country. To do so using the incredible checks and balances brilliantly put in place by our founding fathers and one of the great peaceful restorative solutions we still have at our fingertips. As you know, we reject revolution unless it's the Jesus revolution. Then we're in because we follow the Prince of Peace. It's a great day. It is the, second and fourth Wednesdays of the month. That means the Big Mig brothers on your radio. Lance Migliaccio, George Balloutine, the tip of the spear. If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. TheBigMig.com, and look for the Big Mig everywhere. Rumble, X, I'm just telling you, all over the place. Lance Migliaccio, welcome back, sir.
Hey, thanks, Sam. Happy to be here as always. Love doing the show with you. You know, at the end of the day, there's so much to cover, and it's great to have an outlet like Liberty News Radio.
Lots of news, little time, that's for sure. George Balloutine, welcome, sir.
What's up, Sam? Good morning to all the radio listeners, Liberty Roundtable listeners. So happy to be here. Miss you guys. I know I've been on much, but, you know, got a lot of work to do with a lot of things going on in the news cycle. Some things you may be happy about, and some things I know I'm not happy about. Definitely Sam ain't happy about, and Lance is not happy about, but it is what it is, and we're gonna bring you the news. Yep.
George is the one-man paper hanger. You got that going on. It's just insanity everywhere in the news, that's for sure. Let's start out with clip 4, Liz, then we'll talk about it.
With this no-shoes policy, we anticipate that Americans and travelers and those coming into our country will be very excited that they will no longer have to remove their shoes. The one thing that I will say is that doesn't mean that there won't be times once in a while where someone will have to remove their shoes. If they get put into a different situation or need additional layers of screening where that may be asked of them. But overwhelmingly, the policy will be that no longer will that be required of every single person that comes to a checkpoint. The golden age of America is here. We're so excited that we can make the experience for those individuals traveling throughout our airports in the United States much more hospitable, more efficient for them, more timely, and that they can get to their destinations and spend much more time with their loved ones and with their families and with those accomplishing great things for their future. So
there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Lance, let's go to you first. How can it be the golden age when we don't even use gold as our money?
Well,
you know, there is no gold, Sam. Fort Knox is empty.
And we're not even
going to supposed to have an audit and went away. But listen, I have to be honest. I was excited about this news.
I agree.
You know, as a traveler, I can't tell you how many times I looked over and looked at somebody in their bare feet. I always wear socks. And looking at the floor and thinking about the thousands and thousands of travelers. No. And now I've got to take my shoes off, and then I have to put them back on after I've stepped all over that grungy floor. Okay, listen, this may be the best thing the Trump administration did this week.
Now, I don't know if you know this, but July the 6th, 1928, was the day sliced bread came out. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, I'm telling you, July 6th, or maybe it was July 7th, one of the two. 1928 is when we first got sliced bread. This is not a joke. And so, you know the phrase, this is the best thing since sliced bread?
I do know the saying.
Well, that's where it comes from, and this is the case.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I mean, I got to tell you, we were clapping about it on our show because, man, this has gone on for too long. We now have freedom of feet, and I love it. We can keep our shoes on.
And George, since you're a hippie and you never wear shoes, it doesn't even affect you, does it?
What are you talking about? I'm a hippie. I'm far opposite of a hippie, bro.
I'm just kidding. What do you think of this?
It's I'm so happy they finally got rid of this because, you know, I tailored what I wear to the airport for security reasons, you know, so I kind of wear very easy slip-on sneakers, you know, so.
Yeah, slip-ons, no belt, right?
Yeah, I usually try to wear like a nice pair of sweatpants so I don't have to belt and all that. because it's just a pain in the butt, because I'm carrying enough computer equipment and they want to scrutinize everything about that. So, but it definitely going to make the lines go faster, make security go faster. I mean, with their technology, there's no reason for us to take off our shoes anymore. They do full body scans now. I mean, come on.
Yeah, there you have it. It's very interesting. What I don't understand about this whole discussion is this. Think about this. I don't know how old you guys are. Let's say we're all in our 50s, okay?
Whoa.
And I look at this and I say, Sam Bushman hasn't committed any crimes. I don't even have as much as a driving ticket, for crying out loud.
Do you drive?
I've driven before, yes, sir.
Oh, God help us.
I've had FBI background checks before, and I've had all my fingers and thumbprints taken from the FBI, because when you get a license in the financial world for fiduciary responsibilities, you've got to have a background check from the FBI, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But all I'm telling you is, and so they know from my history and from my life, they could find out instantly that Sam Bushman is not a threat of any kind. I've never been involved in any violent acts. I've never been, okay, same thing. I would look at a Lance or a George and I would say, hey, you know what? You guys may not be perfect, but you've been in America. Between the three of us, it's like 150 years if we're all 50. And I know we're all older than that, okay? And so why can't they start to create white lists of people that are like, you know what? George has never been and has no signs of being a threat whatsoever. There's no reason that we should strip George down and put George on the naked scanner and then do this to Lance and me and you. And let me explain the logic for a quick second. If you treat everybody like a criminal, you got to look at everybody all the time. Because the sheer weight and volume of that, you're going to miss stuff. On the other hand, if you narrow the list and say we're going to whitelist all these people, we're going to have our dogs around. We're going to have our humans that are incredible people watchers around. And we're going to flag those people that we need to really scrutinize. Let's start with you, Lance, because you've got some actual security knowledge. George probably more than me as well. But let's start with Lance. Am I making any sense? You could whitelist so many people, make our lives so simple, and really scrutinize the possible problems and criminals 1,000 times better if you thin that crowd from the start. Am I making any sense?
I think you're 100%. You have to look at resources when you're trying to run security. If you're trying to, and this is something we always looked at as government contractors. Where can you put your resources to the best use? And at the end of the day, if there was a pre-screening process, and there is some stuff out there. There's the TSA pre-screening. There's Clear. But it doesn't really do what it should do. That should just expedite you right through. At the end of the day, they still put you through the screening. They still do all of it. Now, I understand the logic behind it. They're concerned because of what happened and everything changed from, when 9/11 happened. But the point of the matter is, I do believe that there could be a process where you paid to be extra screened, where you could expedite things more quickly. And that would allow them to focus their resources on those people that don't have those clearances. At the end of the day, I don't think Clear and the TSA pre-screening are really doing the job they were designed to do.
Hold on, Lance. I shouldn't even need to pay, though. If you have to spend less time focusing on me, I'm saving you money already.
Yeah, I understand that. But, I would administratively, if they said I've got to pay a fee to go through this extra level of screening, and then that's going to give me real expedited. Because Clear is supposed to do that. I have a Clear card or the Clear membership now, and it does help a little bit. But it doesn't really help that much. It's not like you still don't have to put your bags through and take the shoes off and the belts. Let's face it, if they just went to the process where we could just go through the scanner as long as there was no major metal object. We didn't have to take off our watch. We didn't have to take off our jewelry. We didn't have to take off our belt. That itself would be would save resources. And you're right. Then they could focus on those people. Listen, I don't know if you saw this. I don't know if either one of you guys caught this. Al-Qaeda is claiming they have created a suicide vest that is completely undetectable by current technology.
That's why you've got a profile. That's why you've got to create a white list and get as many people and as many things off the table as you possibly can, and then create a blacklist or a concern list, or, and people would say, well, that's profiling. So I don't give a rip. You got a profile. There's no other way. George, chime in.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's all about money, because what you want, what you're asking for, you can get through TSA pre-screening. You sign up for it, you pay for it, they do your check, and you can get that. But you have to pay for it. So it's always about money. That's what it is. If it wasn't, then they can rightfully so with all the machines they have. And I'll give examples. You can go to some airports, you don't have to take your computer out of your backpack. You just throw the backpack and it goes through this machine. Other airports, you got to take it out, put it in a separate bin. It all depends on the equipment they have. But let's face it, with the money that the government wants to waste, and now with this so-called bill, they have, they can upgrade the machines. You go through a full body scanner. If you have a dollar bill in your pocket, you get flagged and you get patted down for a bill. So don't tell me, the sneakers. It was just
all right. Go ahead and skip the break. I agree with George. I agree with Lance. This issue is huge. It's a good news. At least Kristi Noem and team are having some common sense on this thing. But let me throw out another idea for you. I'm not very smart. I'm like the least sharp knife in the drawer on the table here, okay? But Lance, let me ask you a question. I'm kind of stupid, so help me with this. If you have more items in the cabin with you, is it easier or harder to sneak something in than if you have less items in the cabin with you?
Well, of course, the more confusion in the cabin and the more items in the cabin, the more likely that something might get through.
All right. So since 9/11, what they've done is they've said, hey, we're going to charge for check-ons. It used to be when I was a kid, hey, you'd have 2 check-ons for free, and then you could still take a backpack or a whatever, crossbody bag or whatever you want to call it, with you, and you could still take your computer, and it was like the friendly skies and everybody was good. What they've done is they've moved everything into the cabin, though, because it costs so much more money. Everybody wants to push everything in the cabin. And when you walk in, it's crazy. You got to duck because someone's swinging their bag over your head. And sorry, sir. And, and then they've got these, seats all so close together now that they just raise the pitch. Everybody's pissed when they go there and all this. And I look at it and I go, if you really wanted to make a difference, wouldn't you say, we're going to check everything for free? Let's separate you from as much of your stuff as we possibly can for 2 reasons. 1, if you don't have it, you can't use it. Number 2, it makes the cabin super friendly and nice and spacious. And number 3, they can search it or review it or anything they want to when it's down in the hole or when it's in, processing, being loaded and unloaded. And I won't even have to worry about it because I'm not with my bag. I'm not, focused on it. I'm eating. Well, they used to have nice peanuts when I was a kid. They used to have good taste of peanut. Now you're lucky to get a pretzel. Okay. And I look at this and I go, if they were wanting to really up security, wouldn't you say put as much in the checking bag as you can and leave the cabin with as least items in it that you possibly can? No, we won't take your computer if you need it or your bag. You got to have something so you can use your chapstick and you can live life. And I got it. But separating you from most of your stuff is the simplest, easiest answer by far. Nobody can debate that if they have a brain. Am I on target here as well, Lance?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but of course, we've seen so many changes in the airline world. They're charging for literally everything. You used to get a meal, you used to get this, you used to get that. It was all included. And you're right. I used to not bother with carry-on. I would just check everything. But they've just made the thing so unruly now.
Yeah, but if you checked everything, like, okay, wouldn't you be separated from almost all your stuff to where even if you brought something, you couldn't use it?
Yeah.
Isn't that like intelligent?
You would think. You would think that by having all that extra luggage, the safety of the cabin is obviously greatly reduced. It would make sense to me. But, of course...
Well, the safety is increased. The concerns will be reduced.
Do you think the safety is increased by bringing more luggage into the cabin?
No, less.
Oh, less. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. I thought you said that they more.
So the less you have in the cabin with you, the less items,
100%,
and the less confusion, as you said, the better. So why don't they do that? Why don't we start checking everything? Why don't they maybe charge us to bring things on board if you have to keep something with you, but yet everything else be checked, and that way they can scrutinize the heck out of it. And I don't even need to watch them and get all concerned that I'm having my rights violated and everything. They've got plenty of time with it. Yeah, it takes a little more work in the back end to deal with all that luggage and everything else. But now you've got pretty much a totally safe cabin, almost, comparatively speaking.
I agree.
Why don't they do that? I just don't. George, help me with this. I'm kind of stupid. I don't understand.
You're not stupid, Sam. It's. I don't even know what to explain with them. It's just all. It's politics. I don't know. Is it so people have jobs? Could that be it?
No, because they can use the jobs loading luggage instead of harassing me. You want to know what it is? It's to violate your rights and steal your rights and maintain control. George, let's start there. That's what it really is, isn't it? Make you feel like you've lost all your rights, take your manhood away, let them, feel up your girlfriend or wife in front of you, just absolutely destroy your rights and your ability to assert that you're in charge. They want to dominate and they want to be in charge, and that's the way they assert that. And they do it through the airports, and then they trickle it down through every aspect of your life. That's what's happening here, right?
True. And, if you look at 2001, September 11th, after that, all the rights that we lost as citizens and the spying and everything they do. And it all comes down, you're absolutely right, control. And that's what they want, full control. Can you imagine if the Dems had, let's say, the White House for like 16 years in a row? How devastated we would be? How much influence and control more they would have? I mean, you look at Snowden, what he put out, and, people still think, because he put it out, it's not going on. Oh, yeah, it's still going on. They're still spying on us. You want to know how? Enter some crazy words on your computer and see what happens. I'm not going to say the words, but enter and you see what happens. You'll get a visit at your door. Look at what they did to J6. How they spied on them, used bank accounts. If you went to an ATM machine, you were there at J6. I mean, what happened to our privacy? And it's only getting worse because with Balloutine and they're doing with new AI, what Trump's bringing in, it's going to get worse. And I don't know if he understands that or knows, but
he understands and he knows. I'm beyond the days that thinking he just doesn't know. I'm beyond that. And we'll get there later in the broadcast. But Lance, I mean, it's like Major Tom to ground control, buddy. They just want control.
I think so many decisions in government, in our government, are made in a vacuum. Even most recently, when we talk about what happened with this Epstein situation, the advisement that was given Donald Trump one way or the other, whether his knowledge was up to level, whether he wasn't completely knowledgeable, and I'm not making excuses for him. I think that so many decisions are made by people in a way that's so independent that when they look back, they go, God, what kind of a terrible idea was that? You and I both know that really even all that cabin security, for somebody that's really highly skilled and highly organized and highly prepared.
Buddy, they're going to do whatever they want to do, and you can't
you can
stop
beat
it,
that
buddy.
cabin security very easily. You can beat the security, the line security, all the TSA checks. I mean, it's not really that difficult. And that, at the end of the day, it's all optics. So I agree with you. I think it's an over reliance on somebody made a decision, so now we're going to follow through with it. With either, one of the things we always say on our show is use your common sense. Is what they're saying or what you're seeing, does it make sense to you? Does it seem like it would be common sense to do what they're doing? And I feel like 90% of the time when you apply that to the government, the answer is no.
Yeah, and then ask, is it congruent? Is it common sense and is it congruent?
Yeah.
Like the congruent idea. The more items you have in the cabin, the less safe the cabin will be. The more confusion, as you wisely pointed out, in the cabin, the less safe the cabin will be. Okay, that's so common sense, and it's incongruent with what they're stating they want. They're stating they want it to be simple and safe and everybody to be good and all this kind of stuff, right? Well, then why bring a ton of stuff in the cabin? Why just have people bring gazillions of items in the cabin? I got my computer, it's under the seat. I got my bag, it's above my head. I've got my whatever, and all this stuff. It's insanity. But yet we tend to fall for it. We need to push back. So I would celebrate this shoes issue because at least day to day my life is a little bit better. It's a little less on my throat when it comes to tyranny. But remember, when the people are afraid of the government, we have tyranny. When the government's afraid of the people, we have liberty. So take that home for important understanding. All right, the Supreme Court paved the way for mass federal layoffs. Trump won this one. Everybody's freaking out. In its lawsuit against the Trump administration, the American Federation of Government Employees, which scares the heck out of me in the first place, but said the planned reorganization of the federal government will lead to massive job loss. Hundreds and thousands of people losing their jobs. I couldn't celebrate more, George.
It's a great win. It's shockingly that it had to go to the Supreme Court because anything that Trump does, they want to automatically go to the courts because they have all these liberal judges to rule against them. And you even just had a ruling from the Supreme Court saying that these lower courts have no jurisdiction. But I'll give another one. The big beautiful bill passed. It's a law, and then you have a liberal judge still going against it, ruling against it, even though it's a law. But I mean, it's a great day. We had a lot of wins in the Supreme Court the last few weeks.
You know where that judge needs to go?
A lot of them need to go.
Alligator Alcatraz, baby.
No, leave alligator. We like that.
Clown.
Oh.
That judge is a clown. Needs to be stopped tomorrow, yesterday, whatever you want. This is insane. And I don't know what's going on here. How many more wins do we need to have to set the standard straight? These judges need to be impeached and prosecuted, Lance.
Listen, at the end of the day, I think that the judiciary is completely out of control. I think this weaponization, they're supposed to leave their political bias at the door. When they put that robe on, that's supposed to stop. And it doesn't stop. And the way they're using it to slow down the administration through these constant attacks where they have to defend themselves and they have to delay, I hate it because, once again, they're burning up the clock on Donald Trump. If enough wasn't enough that they used the Russian collusion hoax to screw over the American public, right, to subvert, the elections, to subvert, all our administrative agencies to focus on something that was never true. Now you've got this judiciary, and I think, Sam, and I've said it many times on our show, the biggest problem with the judiciary is absolute immunity and lifetime appointments. That's the problem. And there's really no oversight. A lot of people claim that the OPR, the OIG, Civil Rights Division, checks and balances, all those agencies keep it in control. And
They're not getting it done. We got to admit that.
They don't do it. They don't. There is no oversight. There is no accountability. There are no consequences. These judges operate independently and do whatever the heck they want, whenever the heck they want to.
Amen. It's a tragic reality, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, I'd like to see how many people are going to get laid off. Not that I want less jobs, but I do want less government bureaucrats everywhere. The less bureaucrats they have and the less money they have, the less they can steal my rights and abuse me and you and everyone else. All right, Secretary of Agriculture, her name is Brooke Rollins. Brooke Rollins. The United States will be moving to ban Chinese ownership of U.S. farmland over U.S. security concerns. Lance?
Amen. I mean, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen happen, that we allowed the Chinese government, and we know it's the government, we know that they're funding different individuals, to buy farmland, and especially they bought a lot of farmland around sensitive military installations and sensitive installations that have to do with this government's national security. It's unbelievable. You could never do that in China. I dare you to go try and buy farmland next to one of the Chinese military bases.
Or even buy any land in China.
It's impossible. Why we allowed this to even go to this point, it just shows the incredible corruption within our own government. Because at the end of the day, people knew about this. This isn't some surprise. George and I covered this on the show many times. Listen,
sure.
We've talked about it many times that we believe that there's safe houses on many of these farm properties where they are housing, members of the Chinese military, members of Chinese intelligence, and nobody's paying any attention to this. Like,
and
it's
we've
no
even
big
allowed
thing.
police stations, Chinese police stations, to crank up in the United States as well. You get the final word on this one before the break, George.
Is it going to be in law that, or am I asking too much from Congress to put this in law that China can't own any more farmland after we
I
get
can't
boot
really
them
read
out?
the big, beautiful bill to find out. I'm not sure, sir, but I'm just telling you.
It's definitely not in that bill.
She's right.
It's definitely not in that bill. I can tell you that.
Yeah, let's stuff it in there somewhere where you won't read it.
All right, is MAGA turning on Pam Bondi? We're going to talk about it in seconds. The Big Mig brothers with me. Look for the Big Mig everywhere on your weekend. It's on Liberty News Radio. It's basically everywhere else. Look for the Big Mig. X, Rumble. I mean, I'm telling you right now, they got some of the top shows on Rumble, so check that out. Hang tight. Liberty Roundtable live in seconds on your radio.
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Governor Greg Abbott held a press conference Tuesday at the Hunt store following an aerial tour of the Texas Hill Country where all that flood damage left more than 100 people dead.
Just in the Kerr County area alone, there are 161 people who are known to be missing.
Abbott says, quote, the hearts of our fellow Texans are breaking every single day because of what people in this community and the surrounding area are going through. The Trump administration has some hope. It says it believes that a ceasefire in Gaza could now be just days away. We get an update from White House correspondent Greg Cluxton.
President Trump's Middle East envoy is optimistic that Israel and Hamas will agree to a truce very soon.
We are hopeful that by the end of this week, we will have an agreement that will bring us into a 60-day ceasefire.
Steve Witkoff says the ceasefire would include the return of 10 living hostages and 9 deceased hostages. He says the hope is for a lasting peace in Gaza. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The European Court of Human Rights has sided against Russia now on 2 of 4 cases brought before it in a case by Ukraine and the Netherlands. We get a closer look on the case from correspondent Charles de Ledesma.
Europe's top human rights court has delivered 2 rulings against Russia, stating in the first ruling that Russia has violated international law during the conflict in Ukraine. The first time an international court has found Moscow responsible for human rights abuses since the full-scale invasion in 2022. The court also ruled Russia was behind the downing of flight MH17. The first time, again, an international court has found Moscow responsible for the 2014 tragedy that claimed 298 lives. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Things are booming on Wall Street. The Dow's up about 220 points. More from townhall.com.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. You work hard, you build wisely, your home has become one of your greatest assets. If you're staying put this summer, this might be the perfect time to put that equity to work. Whether it's funding a second home, helping your kids get their start, or simply creating more margin in your financial life, Mike and Brian at Fellowship Home Loans are the only ones I trust to guide you through it. They've done loans for my family. They tailor every loan to fit your goals. Fellowship is a direct lender and operates with your best interest in mind. If you're looking to access your equity through a refi or exploring a HELOC for some cash this summer for a second property, or maybe tackle those updates you've been putting off, start with people you trust. People I trust. Go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. or call 800-510-MIKE. 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans. Mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
Looking for an IT partner that truly understands your needs? Managed IT Services is the answer. We meet with you regularly to discuss your goals and form a tailored technology plan. Our customers have called us a trusted advisor who delivers. When it comes to IT, we do it all. Firewalls, cloud storage, server migration, and more. Say goodbye to long-term contracts and hello to a team that earns your business month after month. Call 801-706-6980 now and let Managed IT Services transform your IT experience.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote, quote, by having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids.
Live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
All right, welcome back to the Liberty Roundtable with your host, Sam Bushman, and his crew, the Big Mig Bros, Lance Migliaccio, George Balloutine, bringing you guys a tip of the spear. You know, in Trump's cabinet meeting yesterday, you know, not a lot of people were happy with Trump saying, but, you know, Pam Bondi was getting questioned about the minute missing from the video, from the Epstein jail video. And we're just going to say this right now. That's not the right video, by the way. Because you look back in 2020 when we had the pictures of his cell looked different, had a window in the door. There's so many different varieties going on. I'm just going to let people know that don't know about the prison system. If you're on suicide watch, there's always going to be a window in the door, clipboard by the door. They have to do a check. It's either every 15 or 30 minutes and sign that clipboard. And they actually, if you're sleeping, they wake you up to make sure you're alive. It's just so much corruption. But then she gets questioned about Jeffrey Epstein, and then Trump goes off. He snaps. Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? We have Texas. We have this. People are still talking about this creep? Yes, we are, because we want answers. We deserve answers. The American public has the right to know. And I have to question, is Trump, is he not being advised correctly? Because, you know, he's not really on social media as people think. He's not doing the posting. People are doing the posting for him, and that's a fact. Okay? So what does his advisors tell him? Is that why he acted like that? Because he wasn't in the know? I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm going to go with that. That's my theory. But, yes, we want answers about Epstein. And they're hiding it because they have too many high-ranking officials, judges, politicians, you name it, that are on that list. Probably friends of Trump, friends of Susan Wiles, maybe Rubio, any one of them. And this is why they don't want to show the list. And then the biggest smoke mirror, I'm going to tell you guys, is all of a sudden now there's an investigation, an FBI investigation into these spy masters, John Brennan and James Comey. But I'm going to play the clip first, and then we're going to keep talking. I want to hear what Sam has to say, because I know Sam's got a lot to say about this. Because people have a right to know. Can we play that clip?
Could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file, along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, right, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
You know, I want to say something. She's lying 100%. I'm going to tell you why. When she was Attorney General of Florida, Jeffrey Epstein got in trouble over there, and she made a deal with him, along with Alan Dershowitz, who also became his lawyer, who got immunity from this. And she knew that he was signed up to be an informant. And Lance actually put the document out on the Big Mig show yesterday. You can go there and watch the episode. The document's there. She's straight up lying. We were promised full transparency that these files will be released, and now we're being lied to. Who got paid? Who's being blackmailed? If they say they don't have the videos, then call up the Mossad. They have it. I don't know. It's just it makes me really upset. When's enough going to be enough? I don't know. What do you think, Sam?
All right, I'm going to start out and I'm going to say this. A couple of things. I agree with you 100%. But to expand on that, I believe that clip was absolutely scripted by Donald and Pam. Absolutely scripted. They knew the question would come up. They had their answers. Donald Trump would play the bad cop. How dare you? This is, and he even uses the word kind of like you're disrespecting the dead kind of an idea. This idea that, how dare you bring that up? We've talked about this guy forever. I would have stopped Donald in the middle of his statement. I would have said, Don, you ran on this point that you would release this stuff from JFK to Jeffrey Epstein, everything else. You were going to be the most transparent. And now you're saying we've talked about this guy forever like I'm an idiot? No, I'm following up on what you said on the campaign trail. You said you were fine looking into this. Others
That's what real reporters.
On your team literally said they would dig into this, and now you're acting like I'm out of line for bringing it up. It was one of your campaign focuses or planks. So good cop, bad cop, scripted, number one. Number two, I believe Pam Bondi is involved in complete dishonest misdirection. And let me give you the example. Hey, we looked into all that stuff, gigabytes and gigabytes of child porn. This guy was just, in his office just viewing porn. That's a lie. Now, does he view porn when he was alive? Possibly. But that's not all just porn there. There might have been that. But this guy had real girls to be with. He doesn't, necessarily need a ton of porn for that matter. And so we're supposed to just believe because she claims it's all porn that it is. Well, of course, nobody wants to release and watch hours and hours and hours of porn. We get that. But that isn't the point. That's her reason to say we can't release this. But it's a lie, though. What about all the information in there that's not porn? What about all the information that would lead us to other people and everything else? This is completely misdirection, dishonest, good cop, bad cop stuff. Lance?
Here's my take, okay? I've had plenty of time to digest this. There's a saying, you can never close the bathroom door, after the stink's already out. And this is exactly what I think. First of all, there are people a lot smarter than I am that have massive files of Epstein information. George and I have files of Epstein information. And ours aren't even as complete as other people that I know that have these, terabytes of data. They've got video clips. They've got every interview. They've got the photos of the cell door. They've got photos of what was taken out of the properties until they started to try to purge that stuff off the internet. We had connections in the FBI tell us what they were pulling out of there, all the hard drives and zip drives. In no way, shape, or form do I believe anything these people are saying right now about Epstein. I don't think any of it's true. I do believe that you're right, that Donald Trump was prepared for that. He's lucky it wasn't me in that press pool. I love Donald Trump, but I'd have stopped him dead sentence. I said, we're going to keep asking about the Epstein files, Mr. President. Everybody in the United States wants to know about the Epstein files. At the end of the day, nobody believes what the government has come out and said because the American people are at the lowest level of trust with these agencies in the American government. There's so much low-hanging fruit. Everybody's been waiting for these high-profile arrests, right? Chuck Schumer? He committed mortgage fraud. Why hasn't he been arrested? How about Letitia James for mortgage fraud? How about the dirty 51+8 Russian collusion hoax? Yeah, I know Brennan and Comey are being investigated, but they already said, didn't Donald Trump say we have it all? Didn't he come out and say that multiple times? We have it all.
Yes.
Here's my point. My point is that you can't, when the stink is already out of the bathroom, you can't shove it back in. And that's exactly what they're attempting to do. Listen, that form that George and I put it up yesterday on our show, and if you want to check it out, it's over at the Big Mig Show on Rumble. Check yesterday's show in the very beginning. It's an actual document from the FBI, and it's a cooperation document. It basically says that Epstein, and that was the case where he was being investigated for trafficking and raping 36 different young women, young girls. These were children. And they had him dead to rights. And during that time period, Pam Bondi was the AG. She knows what the deal was. And they decided rather than go after a guy that was doing trafficking, was participating in horrendous crimes, because Epstein volunteered to turn evidence to obviously become a cooperating witness on multiple hedge fund operators that were laundering money. What did they trade for? They traded for cash. They said, look, we can get money out of the hedge fund guys. Well, let's not go after Epstein. It's not worth anything. We'll get a conviction, but who cares?
Go ahead and skip the break. One of the things that we need to say to Donald very clearly, very appropriately, is this. This isn't even about Jeffrey Epstein. He's dead. At least that's what we're told. Now, if you say he's alive, you're a conspiracy theorist, so we won't even go there. But they say he's dead. Whether he committed suicide or not at this point doesn't matter. You want to know why? Because it's not about Jeff. It's not about that pervert. It's not about whether he was watching porn or not. It's about the other criminals that are alive now that are getting away with who knows what, right? That are tied to Jeffrey. Isn't that what this is about, George?
It sure is, because let's face it, in his place in New York, he had a painting of Clinton, he had a painting of Bush. I mean, come on. And those are no names on the Lolita plane list right there. Don't tell me there's not a list or no list, because actually O'Keefe Media uncovered his phone speed dial special list. So they just keep lying there. They insult our intelligence, and they don't think we can handle the truth.
All right, let's get to the bottom line on this, though, because everybody was praising Pam Bondi. I was critical of her right when she got appointed. Kash Patel, I actually endorsed. I'm disappointed in Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, because they're saying, hey, no suicide here. Now, there might have been a situation where, hey, Jeffrey Epstein was propositioned with this. You either commit suicide or we'll do it for you. So I don't know if he committed suicide or not. And really, the way he died doesn't matter. What matters is prosecution of the people who are alive. And hey, are they continuing in what they were doing before? Do they just have a replacement for Jeff? Now it's somebody else leading the charge, and that's all undercover now. And all we did was basically out Jeff, and he's dead now. Who cares how he died? And now we're going to basically plead holier than thou if you're Donald, and misdirect if you're Pam, and if you're Kash and everybody else to get along and get rich in government, you're going to go ahead and turn a blind eye. Is that what we're dealing with? Well, even Tucker Carlson doubled down on this and accused AG, Pam Bondi's DOJ, of covering up the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. Carlson even went so far as to say this: it was most likely that Bondi's DOJ was concealing information to protect intelligence agencies. Lance?
Listen, my take is 100% that's accurate. There are lots of stories that Jeffrey Epstein is connected to the CIA, connected to Mossad. Mike Ben's a very credible, guy that's been doing lots of interviews. He's out there talking about right now, and he's got places, dates, and names of how Jeffrey Epstein is connected to the CIA. Here's what I know. I know what I voted for, and I believe I know what you and George voted for. And what we voted for was transparency, accountability, consequences, the rule of law, to take down the deep state and expose the truth. We were told that over and over and over again, and I don't expect anything less. I don't care if it exposes the CIA. I don't care if it exposes some kind of national security infrastructure. We've heard MLK, RFK files, JFK files, maybe even Malcolm X. There's been rumors about that they were going to release the 9/11 stuff. We still don't have any of that. We thought Epstein was going to face the consequences. We thought the dirty 51+8 would already be arrested by now. We thought Hillary Clinton would face consequences. We heard, I caught them all. Okay, well, if you caught them all, what are we waiting for? I agree you've got to focus on the economy, but you've got a staff of thousands, right? It goes way beyond just the administration. There are people that can handle this job. I think Elon Musk was doing a great job. Something happened there. I believe Elon Musk was starting to recognize how much corruption there was, and he just didn't know what to do about it, and he was probably in fear for his life, to be honest with you. But here we are again, and if these people that were put in these positions of power don't have the gumption to do the job, then move out of the way. If Pam Bondi can't reach down and grab some and move forward in getting something done, then get her out of there. We've got Sidney Powell in the wings. We've got Alina Habba. We've got Eagle Ed Martin. There's other people out there that I think maybe we can get back to Matt Gaetz. I don't know. But my point is, I expected Patel, Bongino, and Bondi to do a completely different job than they're doing. And I sure as hell didn't expect Donald Trump to gaslight me about something we all know about. There's too much evidence out there. He should not have done what he did in this presser.
Amen. But I'm most disappointed in Kash, because Kash was the one that we probably know the best. I personally endorsed him. Now he's saying, hey, he isn't really speaking out about the details of Pam and the cover-up and the information. He's just saying, hey, I believe he committed suicide, and we don't know of a client list. Now, let me just ask you this question, Lance, and this is a very simple question. If you're in business, whatever your business is, whether you're a sole proprietor, a person, a company, whatever, do you have a list of your clients or a list of the people that you do business with, or at least a contact list of people that you contact and work with? And, otherwise, how do you get paid if you don't have any way to contact your people? It's impossible there's no list, Lance. It's impossible.
Listen, they've got lists. We heard about messages on his phone system. We heard about auto dial on his cell phones or otherwise. We heard about, party lists and all kinds of other information. We know about the Lolita Express, flight logs. There are lists. There are many individuals involved. And I'm tired of being gaslit. I don't want to hear it anymore. You know what? We heard about the hammer of justice, and what we've got is the hammer of lint. I mean, we've got a little string. That's our hammer. This enough's enough. And I don't need
either that or
right. I would have stopped Donald Trump. I would have said, excuse me, Mr. President, but I have to argue to differ. You promised us accountability and consequences. You promised us the rule of law. You promised us transparency. And that is not what the American people are being delivered. That is not what we see right now. We don't see transparency. There is lots of information out there that prove otherwise of what this government is saying to us about Jeffrey Epstein and the client list. You guys just botched the Diddy case. The dirty 51 plus 8 should already be in jail. I would have said it to him just like this. And I said, you may not like what I have to say. I know you came here to probably pontificate about how great the response is in Texas and how amazing everything is, but things aren't amazing. We voted for you, not this administration. We voted for you to make sure that we were going to have accountability and things were going to change, that we weren't going to continue to be lied for. We want to know about RFK, JFK, MLK, 9/11. We want to know about all of it. We're tired of it. And we want the people that are responsible to be charged for it. And that's what we voted for, and that's my expectation, Sam.
All right, what was the word that Donald Trump used here? It was some word kind of about the dead, like, how dare you talk about this while there's dead people in Texas. What was the word he used?
I don't know.
You have the word
I was so irritated, Sam, that I don't even want to remember what he had to say.
What do you remember the word?
That who used?
That Donald Trump used. There's a word that he used. Anyway, I could try to find the word, but here's my point. Isn't it interesting that we're going to sweep under the rug the Jeffrey Epstein abuse of little girls? And all those connected to him are going to get a pass because we don't dare talk about it. Why? Because some little girls died in Texas. Now, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of sadness for the girls that died in the flood and everything else. But the very topic of Jeffrey Epstein and then the girls in the camp, and we're going to say, we're not going to talk about Jeff because we got to properly mourn the girls in the camp. If we're going to talk about little girls, then we need to say, hey, what would give the families more peace and comfort to know that we've gotten to the bottom of the truth about little girls, whether they die in a flood or whether they get abused at the hands of Jeffrey and all the living clowns that are probably continuing this? What about Pizzagate as well? Pizzagate they claimed was a hoax, but I'm convinced it's directly tied to this thing, George. And how dare Donald Trump do this to us? Lance mentioned gaslighting. It is gaslighting on steroids at this point by Donald Trump, of all people.
Well, I've learned never to put high expectations on anybody. This way you won't be disappointed. Remember his first go around where he says, lock Hillary up, and then what did we get? We got nothing.
Then he got leave poor Hillary alone is what we got.
So
I'm tired of it. I got to be honest. I don't want to hear this anymore. I just want to see some people get arrested. I want high-level congressional members. I want people that lied to the American public. I mean, listen, when you start looking at the speech and debate clause of the Constitution, George and I talked about this earlier today. It's a constitutional crisis. That thing has basically been weaponized to allow congressional members to lie in the House, in the Senate.
Yeah, we'll get to that next hour in detail, too, because that's worthy of discussion. You're right, is right now. The term Donald Trump used is he called it a desecration. So for you to bring up Jeffrey Epstein as a desecration because, man, we've got these little girls in Texas that died in a flood. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't mean to give that a pass and act like that's not important. That is sad, and our prayers are with the families and everything else. It's a tragedy for sure. But you're going to use that to try to take Jeffrey Epstein, the abuser of little girls, off the table? Are you kidding me right now? And you're using words like desecration, like how dare you bring this up at this time, like you're a clown in the room?
You know, he's mad, right, because he's talking about Texas. And rightfully so. A lot of people died that shouldn't have died. But what he should be mad at is who in the government did the cloud seeding that caused those catastrophic floods.
Well, they admitted they did cloud seeding as well, and then they tried to claim scientifically it had nothing to do with it. Again, more gaslighting.
Okay. Right. Let's look at Dubai when they did the cloud seeding and they had floods they never had before. Okay, right. There's evidence that it does do that. Maybe they put too many cloud seeds in the air. I don't know. But that's murder, and somebody should be held accountable and locked up for that.
Yeah, but of course, it's the fact that you have a computer that really causes all the problems, George. The fact that you're first world, you're causing all the problems,
I want to just say something. Nothing's ever going to get fixed. The only way to get fixed is and I say this, is peacefully with the court system, is abolish this government and start a new one peacefully. I wish Elon Musk, instead of starting a third party, would take his money and help us do that.
Well,
that's the only way.
Your point's well taken, but now they're going to allow you to speak about candidates from the pulpit without risking your nonprofit status, the IRS says. If you're a church, you can do that now. So you'll be able to speak out and maybe change the game in the church. After all, it was the, what do they call it? The Black Robe Regiment. Had nothing to do with black people, by the way. The Black Robe Regiment is what really got the people on fire for liberty back in the revolutionary days. And maybe that'll help, Lance.
Maybe. All I can give is a strong maybe anymore. I was convinced that we were finally going to fix this thing. And at this point, all I can say is I'm incredibly disappointed. And I agree with you, Sam. One thing you said, those people in the press pool are a bunch of cowards. I wouldn't
Clowns.
I don't, listen, I support Donald Trump, but I'm also not just going to follow him blindly. I would have stopped him dead sentence on that.
How dare you bring up little girls that suffered in a flood when where's the Me Too movement to stand up with us, Trump? What on earth? Little girls are abused. This guy got caught abusing him. He's a convicted pedophile. He's a convicted, and then he commits suicide. Fine. However he died, don't even care at this point. You may be lying. It doesn't matter. He's dead, unless maybe he's alive, right? But at the end of the day, you wonder who took his place to run the pedophile ring that we're not willing to uncover is the real question, right? George, isn't that the real question? Who's running the ring now? It didn't go away, I guarantee it.
Oh, that's a good one. Who's running it now? I don't know. You got me on that one, Sam.
I think they need to draft Bill Clinton into doing something. He's been kind of bored lately. I don't know. Maybe
I don't know about Bill Clinton.
I'm just saying it's insane. If all these people have these perversions and Jeff is gone and we're not going to uncover it, we don't know the connections, we don't know the list, we don't know the money, no one's going to go to jail, nobody's accountable but Jeff. He was the only bad guy in the room. I'm telling you right now, that means that the organization is still alive somehow. All the contact lists, all the network, do you believe that vacuum was never filled and that it just went away? It's dead now, it's gone, we're okay? Do you believe that for 1 second, Lance?
No.
All right. Maybe we need a third-party investigation into this sucker. What do you think?
I can tell you this, without a doubt, I absolutely believe that independent oversight is what's needed, and I agree with George. I'm not sure this is fixable. I think we might
pray
have
you're
to
wrong, predict you're right,
follow the
ladies and gentlemen.
Constitution.
Hour one is in the cam. I pray they're wrong, predict they're right is the sad part about it. Check out the Big Mig everywhere. TheBigMig.com, on Rumble, on X, just everywhere. Hour one of the can, 2 coming up. God save all of us.